Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. Are the Red Raiders the real deal? Well, here's what and I'm going to ask you that question and then just not let you answer it yet. I said on the Matt Mosley show recently, what I've learned about Texas Tech is they don't suck. I have not learned how they will play against Utah. I've not learned how they would play against anybody in the Big 12, but I've learned their floor isn't 2-10. The floor isn't 4-8. The floor is not just a bowl team, but I think a contender. At the same time, it's hard to tell the ceiling when they really have played no one, but they are still my Big 12 champions, and I think they have the inklings against bad opponents of what could be a Big 12 championship team.
I would agree with you that they won't suck. I do agree with you also that we're not real sure what you're dealing with here, and you're headed for a collision course with the Utes on September the 20th that I think points one team in a pretty good spot, and the other team loses a lot of margin for error going forward. This is going to be both teams' first conference game. They'll have their full conference schedule ahead of them after that, but whoever loses in Salt Lake City that day may only be able to lose one more game. You may have to finish 7-1 to have a realistic shot to get to Arlington. That's just where we're at. As it stands right now, based on what we've seen, and we haven't seen the same things from all these teams. It's based on context and who they've played, where they've played them and all that. But what I know right now, I think it's fair to say that Iowa State's the best team. But that's just because they have a more impressive resume to this point. But we are just getting started. This is a long, long season. Injuries are going to come into play. Upsets are going to come into play. And you know, we'll start to see some separation, but we are very early here in mid-September. But I would say right now it's Iowa State. And I'm not the contrary, Drake, I'm not ready to like bury Kansas State and bury West Virginia, you know, as much. Now, if we see 3 or 4 more weeks of it, then maybe so. But I think everybody crowning TCU after beating a terrible North Carolina team is a bit much to me. Just like you can't, it's hard for me to sit here and talk up Texas Tech. They've done exactly what they were supposed to do. They've beat 2 really bad teams at home, which is what you're supposed to do when you're good, but you haven't proven anything yet.
They have, again, I want to kind of go back to, they have proven they don't suck. That's the only, you know, you can't, you haven't told me you can beat Utah. Right. You haven't told me that game at Houston is going to be a cakewalk. That the Houston Cougars, in my opinion, are one of the best teams in the most improved teams, the Big 12, I should say, that could vie for maybe not a Big 12 championship, but for knocking off a couple of contenders, as they did last year, and making things interesting come November. Texas Tech, though, the offensive line, I mean, the offensive line looked good, the defensive line looked good, but who are they playing? Will that be answered this week? Will we learn anything new against Oregon State, or is it another just, hey, Texas Tech beat a team that's now 0-3, and it's a home game, and we still don't know going into Utah because they're not battle tested?
Well, when their head coach, Trent Bray, was going to halftime last week on TV, on the CW, mind you, he dropped an F-bomb about his own team's ability to execute simple special teams things. So that gives you an idea of how it's going with Oregon State. And I think you would have looked at it and you would have thought months ago that Oregon State was going to be 2-0 when you were playing them. Instead, they're 0-2. And so much of it has just been goofy. Special teams, the deep snapper was out, and all these things. They've got athletes, but I don't. You know, in Utah went and hammered UCLA. I think UCLA is very bad as well. But because they're in a Power 4 league, and because UCLA did this in Los Angeles, you get a lot of credit for it. So I do think Oregon State's a step up. I think this has been a small incline of competition, whereas when you play Utah, it will be much bigger. But should we be sold on Utah yet, that they're back as well and they're ranked and everybody's feeling good about everything? I'm not necessarily sure that we know everything about Utah yet either. But I know we'll find out what weight class everybody's going to be in on that day. And I think that is, as we look at that matchup, that's one of the best offensive lines on paper, according to the NFL folks in the sport and in the Big 12. But I also think that Texas Tech will bring in a heavyweight defensive line. And I think that you'll see so many scouts focused on that matchup. And that's wildly fascinating to me. But do we know if Utah's defense, after they lost so much in the portal, is legit? Question mark. Do they have enough receivers? What happens if Utah gets behind? Do they have enough firepower to catch up? These are all, I think, very good questions as it relates to the Utes. But Texas Tech has plenty of questions as well. But hopefully we'll start to get some answers here fairly soon. But I don't know if you're going to get many true answers after the Oregon State game, unless it's bad news. Like if you beat them 50-0, I still would say, how much do you really, really know? And if it's 24-21, you may go, okay, maybe not so good. I don't know what to tell you.
I do think that we've learned we've learned that Utah can beat a Power 4 opponent out of the Big Ten.
Yes.
But we also learned they beat the FCS equivalent of what the Big Ten has, right? There's just there's not a way, in the same way that TCU beat North Carolina, to look at this game and say you went on the road and beat a mid-tier, upper-tier SEC team, or you went on the road and beat a college football playoff contender. Utah went on the road and beat what we know to be a bad UCLA team. Now, that does not mean Utah is bad, or they should be docked for that, or that Utah cannot be elite this year. They should still be given all of their flowers because, as we know, we've watched schools like Arizona State, who's a contender in the Big 12, walk into an atmosphere against a 2-10 team and lose in a game that they were projected to win, lose in a game they probably should have won. So Utah took care of business and can't be slighted. Do you think Texas Tech is at a disadvantage? Because, and again, I want to reemphasize, Utah hasn't played anyone. They haven't. But is Texas Tech at a disadvantage? Because, again, they really, really haven't played anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever result you get on the 20th, you can probably point to whatever opinion you had on this day and say, see, I was right. Because I think if your glass is half full, let's just play it this way. You say you have all these new parts, you have new coordinators, you have new schemes, you need timing, you need chemistry. Would it have been great for you to get dropped in the deep end of the pool right out of the gate and when you're not fully ready yet? Or was this best that you're kind of easing into this and the competition steadily increases? I don't know. If you lose this game in Salt Lake City, everybody's probably going to go, see, you should have tested yourself. You had problems. You didn't know you had problems. You could have addressed them. I mean, we could probably play that game, but I've really looked at. I think people have glossed over that you have two new coordinators here. Mm-hmm. There are two new schemes, and I think there's just no quick way to do it. And So I've taken that from a positive standpoint and think that this is giving them time to, gel, if you will. And I guess we'll find out what you needed. But heck, man, it's not like you get to pick your schedule. This thing was set 4 or 5 years ago, when Oregon State was a legit Pac-12 member. Now there's no Pac-12, and now they're a semi-Pac-12 member in a very weird Pac-12.
Yeah, no doubt. This is all leading up to that Utah game that is scheduled for 10 a.m. local time. Travesty. This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech cross. Let's get into how bad that is. Oh, today's brought to you by GameTime. Why? Because GameTime is where I go to get cheap college football tickets. That's the beauty of GameTime. With college football being back, I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting the tickets can be a huge battle unless you're using GameTime. Pull up the app, couple of taps, as low as $25 to see Power 4 football. The app makes it super simple. Even last-second deals and zone deals. Faster, cheaper, less stressful than any other app that I've used. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with GameTime. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime and do it today.